Y'all are the best students ever. If I could get my classes to come back together this quickly, it'd be pretty great. All right, if you're in line to get your headshot, get your headshot and come on back. We're going to start this next panel. I'm going to pass it over here to Bridget, and she's going to take it away.
All right, everybody. We appreciate being here. My name is Bridget Moon. I'm an economic development specialist. I am also the Veteran Business Development Officer for our Small Business Administration out of the Dallas-Fort Worth District Office. We cover 72 counties, so this is included up in here in Denison. Just to get a little hand here, all my veterans and spouses, please stand up for a round of applause, please. Excellent. We thank you very much for your service. We're going to have a great discussion today. This right here, this panel includes some great resources that I think that everybody here will be able to obtain something useful. Here on my left here, we got in the middle here is Tony Kaai, who is our president of the Denison Development Alliance. And then we got Dr. Karen Stidham of our Grayson College Small Business Development Center, who is also a national resource partner of the SBA as well. And then at the very end here, we got Jeff Robison, owner and senior VP commercial loan officer at First United Bank. So we're just going to allow them to kind of go through and do some brief introductions, and then we'll get right into the tough stuff.
Hi, I'm Karen Stidham with the Small Business Development Center. As she said, we're located on the main campus of Grayson College. We've been there over 30 years. We were one of the first 4 in the entire North Texas area. So we have a history. And I see a lot of our clients and former clients out here, and it's delightful when we can do that. I can't call any names, though, because we are very conscious of confidentiality. We provide, we're not the money people, so let's start with that. This guy down here, keep going down, he'll talk about that. I have a background of working at the college for 28 years with the Small Business Development Center. We've seen a lot of changes over the years. We came from a staff of 1.5 to 5. So as the area grows, we've grown as well. What we do is help people who think they might want to start a business or who are in a small business, and small is defined by SBA standards. It doesn't mean mom and pop necessarily, although we have that size too. But if it's manufacturing, we're talking several hundred people possibly. But what we try to do is find out what the goal is for our clients, where they want to be, and how we can get them there, and how we help them. We don't do everything for our clients. What we do is try to help you. I have been a small business owner. We have 5 different staff members, as I said. 4 of them are advisors, and they all have varied backgrounds, such as mine. I taught in a university, Southeastern Oklahoma State University, a couple of years, but I think the thing that's most interesting and helpful in my background is that I owned a small business. I've been where our clients are and gone through the process, so I know where the pitfalls are. My area of expertise is consumer science, and I have really enjoyed working in this area all these years. I think if you are interested, as I said, in either starting the business or you are in business, we have something to offer you.
Hey, let's see if this is working. Good morning, thrill seekers. Bob, talking to you. So happy to be here, to see everyone. I've got a lot of friends, our former panelists that we're fortunate to meet and work with to bring them into Denison. I mean, those people are super all-stars. You won't find anybody in the world that you can talk to about small business is going to be sharper than those 3 people. So I really appreciate, Bob, you guys being here. Okay, my background is I was born in Ada, Oklahoma. Left there to go to Oklahoma State. I got a degree in agronomy. Anybody know what that? Hey, we got one winner. She's an Oklahoma Stater. That's the study of soils and field crops. That has nothing to do with what I do today. I started my career with the USDA, left, went to work for a congressman for 4 years. From that, I started in the economic development business, and I worked in Cushing, Oklahoma, McAllister, Oklahoma, and Muskogee, Oklahoma, and came to Denison in 2000. So 25 years and about 2 weeks is how long I've been in Denison. And I can tell you this, it is an honor and a privilege to work in this city and work with the people we have in this community and the new people that are coming to this community. It is strictly an honor, and that's why I love doing economic development. So what we do, if you're not familiar with economic development agencies or entities, they are all over the world. We have some great support systems in the state of Texas, and we have a great network of economic developers. Our job is to elevate you, Melita. We're going to elevate you to wherever you want to be. If you get what you want, we're going to get what we want. So that's our job. When I look at the resources that are available to businesses, you look at the list and you will see that all over. These are all the list of resources. You're like, wow, that's overkill. We don't need that many government or consultants. We don't need that many people to help business. Well, you do, because it is extremely, extremely difficult to be successful and go from A to B and be a successful business person. I get the honor of working with people like Kristen, understanding how they got where they are today and learning from them. It's strictly an honor to find people that are successful in business. And that's what motivates our organization. That's what we're here for, is to help them, because there are things that they need that we can provide. So just from a high level, we'll probably get into more detail about what economic development. We're the front door for any business. In our organization, we go from a lemonade stand to a 1,000-employee employer. Every one of those businesses from start to finish have certain challenges or weaknesses or lack of knowledge in certain areas. We try to provide that assistance to them or find the right person that they can go talk to that will answer their question. Because getting answers can take a lot of time if you don't know who to contact. And you're frustrated, you're trying to get your business off, things are happening, you're like, I don't know who to get this permit from, I don't know who to. That's what we do as an economic development organization. So we have the knowledge of the community and the contacts in the community to help network you. Second to that, we have a large amount of incentives and support programs that we administer on behalf of the community. And we'll talk about that a little bit more, but that's what we do, and we sure appreciate you being here. So while you're here, go downtown, buy a car, get a house, and stay with us. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Jeff Robison. I'm with First United Bank. I've been at the bank, actually started at American Bank in, I guess, December of '95, and while I was in school at Southeastern. Graduated there in '99, became an analyst for the bank from, say, 2000 to 2003, and from 2003 to today, I'm a commercial lender. I've helped small businesses throughout my lending career. I've originated several small business loans with SBA. We've done, several projects that, large projects with SBA, and our customers have grown with that and grown with us to become very successful. And I've also made, a lot of small loans to smaller companies, just for trucks and various things. So, we've done a full array there at First United Bank of trying to help our customers in our community just with their lending needs. And, as the adage goes, the bank is only as strong as the community around it. So we want to ensure that our customers are successful and try to help them on that path.
All right. Can you hear? Oh, there we go. All right, those are all great introductions. I'm going to start here with Karen with our Small Business Development Center. Karen, you mentioned clients, and a lot of times when people hear clients, they think there's a cost. And so is there a cost to utilizing the Small Business Development Center, and how do you assist a small business, and what's that process look like?
Okay, we say that your work with our center is prepaid. We're supported through SBA, we're supported by the state of Texas and by Grayson College. So there's no fee for any of our clients to work with us at our center. We do joke with you that what we want from our clients is feedback. We want to know about your successes. So if you decide that you want to work with us, you would make an appointment. We do work by appointment. You would come in and visit with one of our business advisors. We have 4 business advisors, varied backgrounds and areas of expertise. So we try to match our clients to the advisor that has the best background to fit whatever that particular client wants to do. We help them to figure out where they are in the process and what they need next, where to go to find it, which would be many of the resources that are here today. And then we work with them individually and confidentially to try to get them to their goal. Sometimes it's a very quick process. Sometimes they need, you haven't done this one step, so you do this and you're ready to go. We also sometimes work with clients over the years, and that's something that we really want to do. We really want to help that business grow, not just get started, but to grow. We can help in the area of helping to find funding. Not every business is appropriate for a commercial bank loan or for an SBA loan. So we do help them try to be creative in finding funding if it's needed. We also help with the rules and regulations that they may have to work with for their particular kind of business. So sometimes we play devil's advocate because it looks like that particular kind of business may not be a good fit. It may not be a good fit for the person. It may not meet their expectations, because we know a lot of people who are starting business for the first time don't really understand the full scope of it. I think one of the previous panelists mentioned working 120-something hours a week. We do have people come in and say, I want to start my own business because I'm tired of working so hard. And so we try to enlighten them. Yeah, I know who's in business out there. We try to enlighten them about the reality of how it's going to work when it is your business. We spend a lot of time answering questions, and we really want the client to help us along the way. I mean, we can sit there and we can just give them a list of information and talk them through a process, but we really need the feedback. And I think that's something I would encourage all of you to ask questions today. If you're bashful and you don't want to ask in front of the group, go find the different resources and ask questions, because many times that's the problem. It's just information you don't have. It's not being ignored, but it can be costly sometimes. So one of the things we do is try to walk through a checklist of, have you talked to all of these people? Because you really do need to see them. You need their information, you need their guidance. We can help also from the standpoint of once the business has started, then we can help them to grow. That's our goal, is to help them create a sustainable business. One of the things, I like the idea of having the checklist and the preparation, even for a pandemic. That's a good idea. But one of the things that we try to do is to say, here are a lot of resources. We may not have all the answers in our office, but we're going to help you find the answers or find the person that you do need to talk to and that does have that answer.
All right, thank you very much. That's great. And Tony, you mentioned that you have a lot of resources within your organization. Can you tell us a little bit about maybe those type of services or data that you can provide to help someone to start their business or grow out their business?
I'd be glad to do that. First of all, I want to talk about our structure because it's a little bit different from city to city, and you kind of need to understand that when you go to a different city. I've got my colleagues, ex-employee William over here from Gainesville, and Joy's from Bonham. Glad that they're here. So we have three organizations. We have the Denison Development Alliance. That is funded by a half-cent sales tax. That's a 5-member board that's appointed by the city council. We also have something unique, and it's called the Denison Development Foundation. That's a private, nonprofit board that funds itself. We own this building. We bought it in '98 when it was vacant, built this out as a call center, and the rest of the services that are in this building now, so that's how we generate our revenue. That's private money, so it doesn't have a lot of restrictions on it. The 4A money that we have does have some legislative restrictions on what we can use it for. For example, we cannot use 4A money to incentivize a retailer. We can, again, with the DDF, we have the ability to do creative things, and that's what we've done with the money that we have at DDF. And then a side organization of volunteers that's set up by the city years ago when Union Pacific left Denison is the Denison Community Investment Corporation. And they were granted $1 million for small business, women-owned business, revolving loan fund. And I know we've got some people in here taking advantage of that. Devil Egg Company is one of the companies that recently took advantage of that, and that's what helped them get established in downtown Denison. So those are the three organizations that we work with really closely to provide all the resources that we can. And of course, most people just want money. Right, Donna? What kind of, you got some of that government money? I need some of it to get my business started. We're like, okay, we probably can help you with that.
And Tony, elaborate a little bit on that revolving loan program. Is that an extensive time to get an approval? Is there any kind of special rates or terms that are being offered with that revolving loan program? How does that all work with that?
That program is, it is all of that. It's managed by a 5-member volunteer board that's appointed by the city. And they have a staff person that kind of keeps the books together, Ronnie Davis. She's fantastic. Really, if you've got a good business plan, that's when people come to me and say, I want to start making cookies. I'm like, well, do you have a business plan? No. And we talk them through it before I send it to my good friend here that's helped us many, many times. Go get your business plan together. And then if you get through that, come back, and then we're going to put our resources together, which we're going to help you find a location. We're going to help you find out what it's going to cost to be in that location, what it's going to cost to build that location, to be able to make cookies or any kind of a retail business. And then we're also going to help you possibly do financing, and then we're going to have some loan to grants, some programs that we have, and we're going to package all that up for that person and work it from cradle to grave. And the grave is going to be when we do a ribbon cutting or an announcement when the project's done. But specifically, the terms are, they can float, but the last deal we did was a 4% interest, and I think it was about a 10-year term. First year was interest only, and it's only, they only loan on real estate or equipment. There's no working capital involved in that. But again, we take that tool with the tools that we have, and we put it all together to try to make the best support system we can for any type of business.
And 4% is pretty good.
That's really good.
Right. Yes, that's if those that have obtained financing recently, you'll know that that's a pretty good rate. And not only here, there's, as he mentioned, the economic development. There's economic development corporations. Every county or city might have it under a different name, but if you Google just economic development under the particular city or county that you're under, you usually will see an economic development. And I strongly suggest if you're not here and if you're growing out your business outside, those are definitely where you want to make contact to find out those type of programs that they might have. So, that's just another great resource of being able, and then of course, pairing that with an SBDC, as you can be what we're calling a lifetime member almost, right? And because you can ongoing, it's not just a one-stop, hey, nice meeting. It's an ongoing, because just as she says, she wants to hear about those successes. And so those are ongoing meeting times and helping you, what I call getting you lender ready. And so that's really important to, save you time from going back and forth trying to piecemeal something together. So keep that in mind. Now we have Jeff Robison over here. Jeff, tell me a little bit about what it takes to obtain a loan through the bank and the biggest mistake that you see coming through when they're trying to obtain.
Thank you. I think, the first thing to obtain a loan is to actually reach out to your lender, set up an appointment, sit down, start talking about your project. We see the most successful projects where we're talking to them 6 months, 8 months in advance. And then we can talk to them, talk through any kind of issues, talk through of anything, any hurdles that they may see in the future. For instance, entitlements with the city, anything that's changing in the economic environment. Start having those conversations early, and then what we'll do with those conversations is have similar to a checklist, and the checklist will be, hey, we need to see a good business plan. We need to see a good financial statements, projections of what you think is going to happen in the future. And we're going to stress test those financials, so we want those to be as accurate as possible. Because ultimately what we're looking for, and what the SBA is looking for, is ability to repay a note. And so if we're looking through financial projections and it doesn't show that there's enough cash flow to repay the note, then it's an ultimate no. So I think that the largest hurdle we see coming in is just the lack of detail that we need, and the detail being the business plan. Any kind of hurdles that could be out there is the one thing that we see that's lacking, though. But fortunately, we're there to help them work through those things.
Now, when we talk about business plan, do you want a 40-page business plan, or you want something a little bit more consolidated and easier to read?
We want something a little more consolidated and easy to read. Just a simple business plan of maybe 4 to 5 pages, is typically sufficient to cover what we're looking for, as well as the SBA when they're looking for a business plan.
Now, when a business has been established, let's say 3 years plus, are they going to still need to take that business plan they started with and add to it, or can they come up with what we call a lean business plan and still be able to, look at that financing being an established business at that point?
If there's any upcoming changes, say if they're in manufacturing and they're wanting to, add a different line of manufacturing, we may want to see a little more detail there. But if the company is up and established and they've got good financial track record, because ultimately a bank, and that's one of the first things we look at, is the ability to repay. So we're digging in those financials, and not to get too far in the weeds, but we're looking at a debt service coverage typically every time to see if this company has the ability to repay. And so once they start checking those boxes, we can typically look at that conventionally, and they don't have to update their business plan.
All right, let's go back here to Karen. Karen, tell me a little bit about the SBA loan process, coming, you assisting that business owner or soon-to-be owner. What does that take as far as on your part with, SBA and that relationship and getting that ready?
When we're working with our clients who think they need an SBA loan, and many of them come in and say, I want an SBA loan, where do I apply? It's not quite that simple. But one of the things that we do first is see if, in fact, what they're wanting to do, the type of business they want to start, qualifies for SBA lending, because there are a few businesses that do not qualify. Not many, but there are a few. So that's the first thing we want to be sure of, is that actually they could qualify for that SBA loan. After that, we try to figure out which SBA loan is the best fit for them, because there's several different options. The 7A is probably still the most popular one, but there's also a 504, and don't ask me where the names came from or what they mean. But the 504, if you want to buy land and you want to build a building and you want to look at some heavy machinery, we're probably going to talk about the 504 because it's probably going to be a better deal. SBA loan, SBA is not going to send you a check in most cases, okay? What they're going to do is work with the lenders. So we can help identify the lenders, the service areas. We don't work just with SBA loans. We work with other kinds as well. So if we find out, nope, this business is not going to be a good fit here, then we're going to look for other resources. But generally, what we're going to tell you first is go talk to your banker. And we always suggest you start with whoever you bank with personally. There are a few that don't do business loans very often or that don't do SBA loans, but we think it's better to start with someone where there's a relationship. And then we just get that information, which bank are you working with, who's your lender, and what do they want to see? What do they want in terms of a business plan? Do they want 40 pages or 4 pages? What do they want? What have they asked for? We try to get that piece together as well as all the information that SBA wants to see. We have, again, information that says if you want an SBA loan, you need to submit all of these documents. Some lenders have the ability to approve an SBA loan in-house. Not every lender does do that, but some will approve it in-house, and we just try to work with the lender. We don't go behind the client's back, but if the client wants us to talk to their lender, we can do that to be sure that we're helping them to get to the point the bank, get the information together that the bank wants to see from them.
Very good. And she mentions about there's different SBA loans, and you can go to sba.gov, and under the heading funding up at the top menu, it does go into greater detail. As she mentioned, 7A is our flagship because it is the most, most versatile loan program that we have. And there's a new one. It's called the Working Capital Program that came out, launched last year. And I'm just going to highlight that real quick. It's our loan program that can go up to $5 million, but set up as a line of credit. It's our only one at this time, and they sized it to where it's less paperwork too, and less, information and going forward. Now, not all banks have been up and running under this WCP, as it's abbreviated. So you can call your district office, such as our office or myself, and we can look at the banks that are doing those. We are trying to get as many as we can get trained and get their knowledge base up on those. So, we've got other kinds of programs that can, if you don't have one in your area, we do have other programs. But she's absolutely right. We want you to, check with the bank that you already established a relationship with. That's definitely a first step in the right direction. Now, Tony, you mentioned about going through, getting the process starting in the community. How can you aid someone to get them to know that process, to be able to start that business, and especially here or anywhere?
Okay, that is the most important part of everything. If you're going to do business in a city, and if you've never been a private entrepreneur or done business in a city, there are rules and regulations, and there are a lot of those, and there's reasons for those. I don't know anybody that could understand the process without talking to the professionals that handle that process. We can get you started, but we have, in our case, we have a city, our city team. If you're doing a project and I evaluate it and think that, we really need to get more input from the city on all the steps that you're going to have to go through to make that project happen. Let's say it's a winery. Then we have a development review committee that's made up of the department heads of the fire department, planning, zoning. And so we meet, we get them introduced, we meet. You as the entrepreneur say, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to put a winery in downtown. What are all the rules and regulations in Denison that I need to be aware of as I put my business plan together, so I won't have any big surprises like, oh, I didn't know I had to do a sprinkler system. He knew, but some people don't know that. But that's the process you have to go through. And what I try to do is help get a lot of that on the table initially as you're going through your business to expand it or build it. But ultimately, I'm going to say, it's time to go to the city. The city staff is overwhelmed because we're a very popular community these days. So we just work in tandem with our city staff to try to help you as an individual get the steps in your mind and get the connections there. And then we'll again, cradle to grave all the way through, because there'll be other things that you're going to run into that you didn't expect. So we're problem solvers. That's what we want to do, is help you solve problems. I do want to talk about SBA because we have a successful SBA recipient that's going to be speaking as our keynote speaker. And just as throw this out as how economic development can be creative. We went through the SBA. They were approved for an SBA loan, but there's a time from when you're going to get your business operational. And there's a gap there. And somebody's got to guarantee that it's going to happen. And we, the Economic Development Agency, we guaranteed that for 6 months. Of course, that business, when they finally got open and operational, then SBA came in and we came out. So we look at ways to be creative to get you from, cradle to grave.
That's an excellent point, because there is a lot that goes into starting in a community, especially within your city limits. Obviously, when you get out in the county, sometimes that's a little bit more open, but there's still some regulations. So it's important, whether you do the research yourself or get someone that's experienced that might already have those answers for you. So that's, the real importance of all these resource partners that are around the room. They have answers and they have information, and so you want to definitely utilize while you're here. Make sure you stop at each one, because you might be surprised what resource and what information that they might be available for you that could be pertinent to what you are trying to do. Now, Jeff, tell me a little bit, because obviously a bank has a lot of different kinds of programs, and we want to hear about what programs are going on with the banks and what kind of loans that are available for a small business. And in addition to that, on those loan programs, how do you determine terms? When you talked about earlier about having the financials and the business plan and really making sure that it makes sense to having that business be able to repay a loan. But then once you determine that, how are those factors taken into play on terms and within the different loan programs that you have?
Okay, just to talk about, 3 of our loan programs here that we primarily use as a bank is, the conventional financing in the bank. And then we've got the SBA financing, which is the 7A loans and the 504 loans, which we talked a little bit about. Now, with a conventional loan, what we're first looking at is, there's some steps there. Is there historical financial statements that show that the ability to repay, the ability to service debt? Is there good history with the company? Is the management in line? We feel that they have good management. And then, one of our least important one is collateral, but we want to make sure there's some kind of collateral there in order to get the conventional note. So really what you're doing with the conventional note is you're going through there and we're checking all the boxes. The credit's good, the income's good, the history's good, management's good, collateral's good. So we're checking all those 5 C's or five C's of credit. And then, we've got the 7A product, which it's more used for working capital type. And with the 7A, there may be one of those 5 C's that we don't have in place, and it may be, say, collateral. It may be a history that they don't have, and so then we'll bring in the 7A component there in order to finance that. And then on the 504 portion, as she said before, that's used to finance a lot of real estate and equipment. And the incentive there for the 504 is, it's split into 3 components. The bank will take 50% of the project cost as a loan, and then there's a debenture for, say, it could be anywhere from, say, 25 to 35% on a debenture, which is sold off on the market, and it's a fixed rate for, say, 25 years. And then the remaining 15 to 20% is the equity that's put in. And then on the 7A portion, it's typically a guarantee from the SBA of 75 to 85% of the loan amount. So those are the incentives for the bank to say, hey, maybe we're lacking in one area right here, so we're going to look at this 7A component to help and get a 75 to 85% guarantee, or maybe it's a 504 loan that we're going to have a 50% loan on, and maybe it's real estate or it's equipment. So there's an incentive for the bank there to say, hey, our exposure to these loans is very minimal, so we can take that risk. Now, on the terms of the note, so we try to match the terms with our actual collateral most of the time. So if we're doing a working capital note, it's going to be a quicker term, say, the max 2 to 3 years on working capital, and sometimes we'll go up to 5 years. SBA allows a longer term as well. And then equipment financing, if it's, say, yellow iron or something like that, we typically stay 5 to 6 years on those terms. And then real estate, we can go out to 25 years. And then, as far as interest rates, a lot of times that's going to depend on, one, if it's a conventional note, the risk category of it, is it, maybe a little riskier, and so the pricing may be a little higher. And then 7A, typically our 7A SBA loans, the pricing there is, say, Wall Street Journal Prime plus 2.75%. Keep in mind that a portion of that interest rate goes back to the SBA, and then our 504 portion of that first lien, it's priced at, say, a competitive, owner-occupied rate. And then I think the second lien portion on the 504, the debenture rate right now is, I think, around 6.4%. So it's a competitive rate that's fixed for 25 years. So that's how we try to, we've got three loan components there that we can use, and then our pricing is based on kind of the risk category that we have, and then the terms are typically based on the useful life of our collateral.
Do you require, you talk about the debenture, within SBA we call those usually certified development companies. Do you require them to apply through them first, or for you to take the application?
We'll take the application, and then we'll help them apply through the CDC.
Okay. And so that's the abbreviation CDC. So when you go on to SBA.gov and you want to look at the funding, you'll see that under that 504. Basically what he is saying is it's fixed assets is what that can loan for. As well, there is an opportunity also for refinance other debt that might come into play. So just make sure that you put everything on the table of what you are trying to accomplish, because that will also help expedite that process. Okay, so I just want to ad-lib a little bit on that.
Could I add something to that?
Absolutely.
About the CDC, you might be in a community that there's a bank there that doesn't do SBA loans. A CDC corporation, you can go to them directly, and they have multiple banks that they can shop your package to. So just want to point that out.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, absolutely. And if you're having a hard time finding one, again, reach out to the SBA office that would be in your area. And ours is right there, like I said, in Euless. We cover this area. But if you're outside, if you're in Oklahoma or Arkansas coming into this, you would reach out to that SBA, because they have that information that pertains in your area up there. Is there, Jeff, just to kind of also, is there a minimum amount required for your loans? Is there a particular minimum, so whether it's conventional or?
In the conventional, no, there's no minimum amount. We've made very small loans, to companies that, need a truck or need whatever it is, And then the SBA, yes, we do have some minimum amounts. I believe on the 7A, it's $250,000. And then on the 504, I don't have that off the top of my head right now on the minimum, but I would assume that it's going to be a little higher than the $250,000.
All right, good points. All right, so let's just jump back. We're kind of running into, we'll get some question answers here in just a second, so get those questions answers. There's got to be some with these great resources I'm sure that we're not addressing. But on the SBDC, where would I be able to find, obviously you're here today to get information, but let's say I'm not in this area, or I'm not in, you guys cover a certain amount of counties in your SBDC. If you could tell us what counties those are, and if we're not in those counties, how can I find an SBDC?
Yes, our SBDC covers Grayson County and Fannin County. One of the things that we do is help you find the one that actually is in your area. And I've talked to a couple of people already this morning that are not from this area. I noticed all the hands. So you also can go to the SBA website, sba.gov, and that you can find your local SBDC through that website. Our website's SBDC, graysonsbdc.edu, and if you email us, we will help you find it also.
All right, so as you mentioned on the SBA website, just to navigate, because I know I get a lot of questions, there's just so much information. Where do I go? So at the top, again, we're looking at menu items. I believe it's still at the top right. We're, of course, going through a lot of changes as well. Up there it says find, or it says local assistance. When you click on that heading, it'll pop up a box and it says find your local resources. Click on that and a map will appear where you can put your zip code in. All the resource partners that SBA has will come into play there with the district office that's in that zip code will populate first. Okay, so we've got our Small Business Development Center. We also have an organization called SCORE, and their website is score.org. They also do a one-on-one mentoring, but they are scattered as far as mentors because they're volunteers, versus the SBDC has a strong physical location where a meeting place can happen. SCORE, they'll meet with you virtually. They will meet with you in person if they're locally, by emails, phone calls, however you want to do that. And then for my veterans and spouses, we have our National Veterans our Veteran Business Outreach Center. There we have only one in our 72 counties, but they also cover Arkansas and Oklahoma. It's at the UTA, College of Business, down there in Arlington, Texas. So definitely for those that might not be here, spouses and our veterans or active military are all able to use that resource as well. So we're getting up in our 10 minutes here, so I just want to stop here with the questions that I'm asking the panel, and let's reach it out to our attendees here that probably at least have at least one or two. All right, we got one over there on the far right. Go ahead.
Good morning still. Thank you very much for the information. I have a question related to earlier stages of small businesses. You support many people who are just starting a company, and you would probably agree that many people who are just at the beginning of the journey, they underestimate the importance of the business plan and financials. You've talked about that a lot. You can get a business loan with no financials. At the same time, I think, and I'm a SCORE mentor, and I work with small businesses trying to help everyone organize the bookkeeping and finance. But I see that most entrepreneurs, they are not like Rob, good planners. Most of the entrepreneurs, they just want to work with clients, with a product, and they think that working with financials is boring. As someone who over and over provides the support for those entrepreneurs, how do you address that issue, and how do you ask the future business owners to work on financials and business plan, even though they actually don't want to do that? Thank you.
Very good question. All our resource partners and resources here, there isn't an age limit as far as getting the assistance. Now, when it comes to contracts and things like that, obviously might be, getting signed off on a loan, you would have to be an adult. But I'm going to give this to Karen because at the SBDC, they handle all those kind of things. As you mentioned about the checklist, maybe you can elaborate a little bit more about that checklist and how that's to aid.
Okay. One of the things I do want to say, because I'm not sure any of us mentioned it, we're talking about loan programs. You have to have some money of your own, okay? So I think everybody agrees with that. If you want to start a business, lenders expect to see that you are investing in the business. With the financial side of it, one of the most common things we say to lenders, one of the first questions is, do you have a CPA? Do you work with a CPA, right?
Right.
Yes, it's important. We help you understand basic financial management. We have a lot of resources. We can help you understand what that balance sheet is. We can help you understand what a P&L is. We can help you understand, okay, you saw cash flow somewhere. What is that? We can help with that. We can help you work on one, a rudimentary one to start with. One of the things that I think is really important is to understand if you're too busy, once you're open, if you're too busy to do the paperwork, and I hear that a lot, I'm just too busy to do it, you're going to have a lot of time in your future to do it because you're not going to last, okay? It's important. If you don't understand how to read the financial statements, if you work with a CPA and you don't understand how to read those financial statements, ask your CPA, what does this mean? Because those financial statements tell you what to do to make your business more successful. They tell you this is a problem, and what you perceive to be a problem may be a symptom. The financial statements are critical. So yes, you need to work with someone who can help walk you through the process. What is a financial statement? And I get that question. What are you talking about? I read a couple of business plans this week, reviewed them. Neither one of them have a valid, complete financial statement. They got to have some more work. And so one of the things that we do is help you understand what that's all about. We're not CPAs, and we're not going to do it for you, because if you get into business, this is something you need to go on to take care of ongoing and that you need to understand. But yes, we help with all of that process. We help in the business plan. A part of that's going to be some financial statements, and we'll help with that as well.
Excellent, what you had mentioned, and I think, really what comes down to it, we get used to software, right? Quicken Books, who use Quicken Books here? Anybody? Or any other kind of other software? Quite a few of you. We get used to them just hitting the button and say, there's my P&L, there's my balance sheet, and we're good to go, but we don't understand it. And so it just is important, because if you have a business plan and you're referring to it down the road, I always say, please do not put your business plan, especially as a startup, on the shelf on your computer desk. This is something you're going to refer to probably every month, maybe weekly, to see, is your numbers where they're at? Are they coincide with what you predicted? And if not, why? You need to look at that business plan and say, you know what? Well, my sales were down. I had that AC that went under, and I had to use some of my marketing money to repair my AC. Well, your sales went down. Well, maybe because your sales went down because you used marketing money. So you can see that with your current financials as well as in comparison with your business plan. And so that's why it's important to understand where those figures are coming from and what they mean. So kind of keep that in mind. I always tell, is there any other questions before I go? Okay, we've got one more over here. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to see if you would describe how easy it is to get set up as a client with the SBDC, and what are some of those services that people don't know that you offer? We've talked a lot about business plans and financing and things like that, but there are other things that you can provide other services that you can provide for existing businesses to help them with their marketing, or what are some of the items that people don't know about?
Well, it's real easy to get signed up with us. If you see the gentleman over there, the last table next to the photo, that's Ken. Ken can tell you how to find us, how to get in touch with us. You just make a phone call, because we do work by appointment. So it's important to make a phone call. Don't just assume you're going to find us there, because our advisors are out of the office frequently visiting with our clients. So it's easy. It's not going to cost you anything. And we are located on the college campus, and we have 2 reserved parking spaces. And if you don't know, that's a big deal on a college campus. So I think you can find us that way. We have a lot of services, and they are customized to our different clients. So we try to find out what that client needs, and then we try to provide those services. We help, as I said, we've helped with the loan preparation, the paperwork for you to go apply for a loan. We also help try to troubleshoot what is wrong. We have people come in and say, I'm making a lot of sales, but I don't have any money. So I need, more customers. Well, but you need to hang on to more of that money, no matter how many customers you have. So we help with that. As we said, with the finances and with understanding it. We also can help in many different ways with businesses that are just getting started. We try to find out if you will allow us to share the fact that you are one of our clients, then we do a lot of referrals. Yes, we know a business in Denison that will provide this service, and here they are. So we refer small business. Our client list is confidential, so unless you tell us we can say you're a client, we're not going to. But that's one of the things that we do frequently is try to refer people to other businesses and other types of resources. One of the things we spend a lot of time on is research, trying to find the information that the client needs to take the next step. Does that answer the question?
I'm sorry for interrupting. Yes, thank you so much. But I also have a question about small business. As you know, if you can say a little bit about the small business in downtown Denison that is going to be on Shark Tank tomorrow and the success that they have had. And maybe you can say maybe 30 seconds, 1 minute about them. Thank you so much. Tony?
Oh, thank you for that question, Melita. The Deviled Egg Company came to Denison a couple of years ago. They had a restaurant in Omaha, and she and her husband wanted to start a restaurant, a new restaurant, the same kind of restaurant, but they kind of fell into that one and developed it over time. But they wanted to say, okay, if I'm going to start from square one and build a new restaurant, I want to experience that. I want to know what it's going to take to do that. So we met with them and we went over what programs that we have, talked about the DCIC loan program. They had their business plan because they had an existing business, so they're very sharp. They knew exactly what they were doing. Rachel is her name. And so they met with the DCIC and they worked out the loan, a loan package for the build out of the space, and the owner of the building assisted in that, but they were in there for, I don't know, a couple of $300,000 to get that done. Now what we do, we have a destination creation grant for businesses, targeted businesses on Main Street, and the targets are wineries, breweries, distilleries, any entertainment type business, and cool restaurants, and that one was a cool restaurant. So we reimburse 15% of the total cost that they had to build out. And that's their furniture, fixture, and equipment in that space. So they finish the build out, they get their CO, they submit to Tiffany, who's back in the back. They submit a spreadsheet of all their expenses, and we go over that to make sure that those are qualified expenses for the FF&E. And then we write them a check. Now, it's a loan to grant, so that business has to be in business for 3 years for it to be a grant. So, but it is prorated. So year one, 30% of that is a grant. Year two, and if you're open 3 years, it's a grant. If you close in year one, then you owe us some money. And so that's how that came about. And then she's an incredible entrepreneur, her and her husband and her whole family. And it's going to be on Shark Tank, and it's going to be happening tomorrow night at 7. So check it out.
Excellent, excellent. Do we have one more question? Oh.
I'm going to hold off on that question. They picked me because they know I cracked the whip, and we got to stay on time. So I'm going to ask the panelists to stay up here. And so if you have a question that you didn't get to ask, they're going to be up here, and you can ask that question and get your answer. So come up here. A couple of you, first of all, thanks to our panel. Give them a round of applause. A couple of you got headshots, and you left your little white paper in the room, and you're going to need that to claim your headshot later. So I'm not going to call you out. I'm going to give you this first break to just come get them, and then later I'll call you out if you don't do that. Also, those of you who have gotten your headshot, there's a QR code on the piece of paper. Go ahead today and scan that QR code and create your account so that when your photo is ready, you'll be able to access it and you'll get notified. Okay? We're going to take a quick 10-minute break, visit with each other, visit with our resource partners here, and come ask the panelists if you have additional questions.